All right, College Algebra, here we are for video number 1 of your school year. Hopefully not a lot of these I have to make because I have to make these videos. I am gone. So we are starting the first instructional day off with a video, but in your 1-1 to 1-3 game plan, have that out. Before we do so, we want to introduce some sponsors we have to Yak Math videos this upcoming year, and they are first in book form. First up, we got Outlive, the Science and Art of Longevity. Yes, the body's a temple. All right, we'll discuss that, I'm sure, this year. The Obstacle is the Way, the timeless art of turning trials into triumph. Yes, and on that same vein, one of our classroom favorites this year, David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. Followed by A Complaint-Free World. Yes, wouldn't that be nice? And lastly, Noon Sport Hydration Tablets. Go running. All right. After page 4, we are not going to start at page 1. Those we're going to do together tomorrow in class. But after page 4, we have page A. Okay? Got page A, and I want you to go to page A. And page A has some more interesting questions and an old SAT question. The formula for the area of a triangle with height h and base b is area is 1/2 base times height. Write an expression to represent the area of the triangle. So, first off, x plus 7 is the base. Guys, the base in the heights, like, well, how's this not the base, and how's that not the height? Well, first off, you have an altitude, okay? An altitude is a right angle. The right angle is made with the base. The base and the height make a right angle. They are perpendicular, right? So this right here, this dotted line, that represents the heights, all right? The height is 2x, and the base is x plus 7. So I have area is 1/2 base times height. 1/2 of 2x is a single x. Then I do a little distribution. Is x squared plus 7x units squared. Formula for volume of a cone with radius r and height h is 1/3 pi r squared heights. That is the volume. Write an expression for the volume of the cones. First off, 6x corresponds to diameter. If you ever see like a number or an expression right in the middle there of the base is a circle, then that means that number is the diameter. If they wanted you to know is the radius, they would draw like a line like this and put that number right in the middle. That shows you it's the radius. So 6x is the diameter. That means the radius is 3x. All right, the radius is 3x, and the height is 2x. So the volume is 1/3 3x, all of it squared times 2x. If I square 3, I get 9. If I square x, I get x squared. So then I multiplied these two together to get 18x to the third. We add exponents. What is 1/3 of 18? It is 6. All right, pi times 6 is goofy. Instead, I'm going to say 6 times pi. X cubed, units cubed. Talking about 3 dimensions when we talk about volume. And believe it or not, folks, this was on the SAT. This was on an official SAT that we have given our students in the past. It could not be easier. If t equals n times c, then what does c equal? All right, here's c. What am I doing to c? I'm multiplying by n. What is the opposite of multiplying? Dividing by n. Here's c. All right, that is a slam dunk question. All right, go to page 5. Page 5 starts section 1.2. It's important to know that the additive inverse, folks, that means opposite, all right? Numbers are additive inverses if they're opposites. And the multiplicative inverse, that means a reciprocal, all right? And 8 and 1/8 are reciprocals because when we multiply them, we get 1. So find the additive inverse and the multiplicative inverse for each number. All right, so examples are notes, and I will almost always do all of the notes with you. We'll get into another section shortly. I'll tell you what those are. So -8. Put add for additive inverse. What's the opposite of -8? It's a +8. You can do all these right away. These are so easy. So first off, -8 is -8/1, because to find the multiplicative inverse, which is the reciprocal, I'm going to need to make a fraction, and I'm going to need to flip it. So it's still the same sign because a negative times a negative is a positive. Remember, multiplicative inverses are reciprocals multiplied to 1. All right, so it's negative 1/8. What's the additive inverse of 13? It's a negative 13. The multiplicative inverse of 13, which is 13 over 1, all I got to do is flip it. The reciprocal is 1 over 13. All right, so the additive inverse, like you can always write, it's literally the opposite. If that is 1.25, the additive inverse is negative 1.25. Or the multiplicative inverse, folks, we are writing as fractions. We are without decimals. We're not writing 1 over 1.25. So instead, 1.25 is 1 1/4. Okay, so back in junior high, elementary school, you learned how to do this. 1 times 4 is 4. Add 1 to it, you get 5/4. 1 1/4 is 5/4. What's the reciprocal of 5/4? 4/5. That is maybe one of the hardest things you would do this section. All right. Additive inverse of 0.5 is negative 0.5 or negative 1/2. Then I'm going to flip it and get 2 over 1. That's 2 as the reciprocal. So 3 1/2 is 7 over 2. You're going to multiply 3 times 2 the denominator and add 1. I get 7 over 2. So the reciprocal is 2/7. And the opposite is negative 3 1/2 or negative 7 over 2. Okay. What's the opposite of negative 5 over 8? It's 5 over 8. And then I just flip it. Negative 8 over 5. That one's pretty easy. 7 here. The additive inverse is negative 4.2. Or the following 2. And this is how we get the following 2. So 0.2 is a fifth. 4 times 5 is 20. Add 1 to it. It's 21 over 5. What's the reciprocal of 21 over 5? 5 over 21. Guys, if you need to pause this at any time, that's fine. These will have to go relatively fast. I can't make a video for an hour. So the additive inverse of negative 4 1/3 is 4 1/3. 4 times 3 is 12. Add 1 to it, that's 13. Don't forget to put the negative on the outside. Negative 13 over 3. Multiplicative inverse of that is negative 3 over 13. Additive inverse is obviously the opposite, or we can write it as an improper fraction here. So 6 times 5 is 30. Add 2 to it. That's 32 over 5. Flip it to get the multiplicative inverse, the reciprocal. This one could not be easier. Just attach a negative to get the additive inverse and flip it 13 over 6 to get the reciprocal. All right, so the additive inverse is 1/4 or 1/4. And negative 1/4, if I flip it, I get negative 4 over 1, which is negative 4. So positive 2.5, the additive inverse. All right. I'm going to take 2 times 2 is 4. Add 1 to it. It's 5. Negative 5 over 2. Multiplicative inverse is negative 2/5. All right, so those are all notes. Now, sometimes we do nothing but notes, and it's hashtag game time. Hashtag game time, folks, is essentially your homework. You need to think of that as your homework. I do not promise to do all these with you together. Depending on time, I could do a lot of them. Maybe I don't do any of them. All right? Usually, largely determine that. So I'm going to do 5 and 6 with you. The additive inverse, it could be positive 3 1/2, or you can say 7 over 2, because I can write negative 3 1/2 as negative 7 over 2. There's a multiplicative inverse. Just flip this. 2 1/4. Is 9/4. The additive inverse, negative 9 over 4. Multiplicative inverse, flip it good, 4/9. Now, this next section is notes, all right? This is the second part of today. We got some notes here, all right? So simplify each expression. Just combine like terms. 10b plus 7b, 17b's. Negative 5c plus 11c. Look at the sign right in front of your term, 6c. Negative 3x minus 8x. I'm 3 in the hole. I lose 8 more. My debt rises, negative 11x. 5y plus 17y. It's 22y. All right, do a little distribution. That's 18x. I'm multiplying minus 30x. I'm multiplying plus 10 times 4 is 4x. Positive 10 times a positive 3y is 30y. Then it just becomes like number 8. 18x and 40x gives me 58x. Negative 30y plus 30y. The y's cancel. All right. 5 times 4, or 8 is 40. 5 times 4 is a negative, and don't forget about the negatives, a negative 20b. Negative times a positive is a negative, and negative times a positive is a negative. 14a, or 40a minus 14a is 26a. Negative 20b minus 7b is a negative 27b. All right, then on 11, we got a negative times a negative is a positive. Negative times a positive is a negative. Negative times a positive is a negative, and a negative times a negative is a positive. All right. 15x minus 32x, negative 17x, negative 10y plus 24y is a mistake right here. That's a positive 14y. That's going to happen sometimes this year. I will have something written down, and hopefully we will catch it. All right. Negative 5 times 8 is negative 40. Attach the x. Negative times a negative. We get a negative 30y here. Negative 4 times 6x, negative 24x. And negative 4 times a negative y is a positive 4. Right, guys, I highly recommend drawing these arrows. The arrows mean multiplication. I'm in debt 40. I lose 24 more. Negative 64x. Negative 30y plus 4y is a negative 26y. All right, we got more notes here, so I'm going to help you out on this, folks, low distribution. So a third of 9 is 3, or you can simply do 1 times 9, which is 9. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 1 times 12 is 12. 12 divided by 3 is 4. What is half of 20? 10. What is half of 10? 5. And then, you know, that should be easy to distribute. All right, 10 and 2 give me 12x. Negative 5y and 6y give me a positive y. All right, so here is, again, we're trying to do everything we can, maybe without a calculator. Some of your future colleges won't let you have a calculator in class. What? These, though, are largely good to go. TI-30XS multi-view. Again, on day 1, I told you, actually before I emailed you and showed you this sweet calculator gets. Obviously, it can work with fractions, and over D right there, boom. But here's how you can do it using man's original calculator, your head. 3 times 40 is 120. 120 divided by 4 is 30. 3 times 12 is 36. Divided by 4, 9. 2 times 15 is 30. Divided by 3, 10. 2 times 21 is 42. 42 divided by 3, 14. 30 plus 10 is 40. Negative 9 plus 14 is 5. And on 16, 7 times 20 is 140 divided by 10, 14x, minus 7 times 50 is 350 divided by 10, 35y. 5 times 24 is 120 divided by 3, 40. 5 times 15 is 75 divided by 3, 25y. Then we got 3 times 12 is 30. 3 times 8 is 24. Negative times a positive is a negative. That's 12b. Negative times a negative, we got 30a. Right? 36a minus 38 is 6a. Negative 24b minus 12b is 36b. That is page 8. And if I do believe that is it for the notes in that section. And then page B, because B comes after 8, of course. You guys are just coming out of, you know, a few years ago, you guys were in junior high with that Common Core math. You guys should understand 8 coming after B, right? Just makes sense. 3 times, or 5 times 3x is 15x, minus 5 times 4 is 20y. Negative 2 times 5x, negative 10x, and negative times a negative is a positive. Simplify that. 15 minus 10 is 5. Negative 20 plus 6 is a negative 14. And the last one, wanted to help you out with here. 17. Negative 3 times 6x, negative 18x, and negative times a negative is a positive 15y. Negative times a negative is a positive 10x, and negative times a negative is a positive 6y. Negative 18x plus 8x, negative 8x, 15y plus 6y is 21y. Now, because, again, that was page B, it's important to know, so tomorrow on Tuesday the 15th, we will start with page 1 in this game plan. Now, guys, page 9 is review. It says review homework. Find each product. Should have learned something in the past few years called FOIL. All right, first, outer, inner, last. Arrows mean multiply. X times x, x squared. X times 7, everything's positive. 7x, that's the outer part. This is the inner part. 5 times x is 5x. And this is last. Positive 5 times 7 is 35. 7x and 5x, we've just been practicing that. What does that give you? That gives you 12x. And that is our quadratic, our 3 terms there. All right, folks, that was your first video. Make sure you have all these notes ready. This game plan is going to be due Friday. I think Friday at the end of class. This will be your first grade. This is Yak Math Videos signing out.